Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. My name is VashSky. I'm your host of today's ceremonies, and with me, to my right, I think I got that. To my left, your right, is the one, the only, the guy coming back here from the great beyond in order to offer his words of wisdom. LW Ghost. Hello there, good sir.
Well, it's a fine line between wisdom and wise ass, and I try to walk it frequently.
That's fantastic right there. Well, hey, you know what? We do appreciate whether it's a wise behind or wisdom.
Oh, don't tell me YouTube has a thing against asses, too.
Yeah, especially
a few famous historical assholes. I know they don't like, but anyway.
Well, somebody who doesn't have a problem with anything we do, mostly. Juliet with the 2 British pounds sterling. Thank you so much. Good evening, T3PO, Lou, VashSky, and Chad. Well, good evening to you. I know you're on Juliet. The UK right there. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful morning over here, though, I will say. About 11 o'clock over here in Arizona time. And boy, it's like overcast right now. It's great. After the stream, and after I'm done with today's deliverables, I think I might go out and take a nice little stroll there.
I'm looking out, and it's pretty breezy outside here, but nice. Ooh. But breezy, but hot. Such as summer.
Yes.
The globe warms this time of year every year, doesn't it?
It sure does. It sure does. Speaking of hot and summer and, feeling breezy, I guess the studios, specifically that of Warner Brothers, feeling a little breezy with this. James Gunn's Superman has passed $400 million worldwide. Whoa, yeah. Big numbers right here.
Yeah, well, the big question will be, once it gets kicked out of the big format theaters, has everybody who wanted to see it seen it already?
Yeah, that's the question right there. It only had about a 50% drop, which is actually pretty decent for this type of event picture right here. Luis Fernando actually has more. As projected, Superman crossed the $400 million mark at global box office, beating Superman Returns $391.1 million, Thunderbolts $390 million, and Black Adam $793 million.
Let me interject. Runs. That saying you beat Thunderbolts and Black Adam is not exactly a high mark.
It is not.
Anyway.
It is not, but at least it beat those in its, I guess, second week here. After grossing $45.2 million on second weekend overseas, a negative 52.4% drop from opening thanks to strongholds in Europe and Latin America, despite crashing in Asia. Very interesting. Allied to its $235 million cum in the U.S., the reboot with a $225 million production price tag, not including marketing, which I guess Culture Crave actually has estimated as $125 million for that end of the ledger. Hits a $406.8 million global cum, $500+ million coming next weekend, $600 million locked, eyeing a total run of $640 to $700 million, depending on how Fantastic Four affects its legs, if at all.
If at all. Do Culture Casinos Bears do you know what in the woods, if at all? I mean, come on, guys. This guy's certainly addicted to the word cum, isn't he?
He likes the cum. He likes
who is he anyway? He's kind of a Johnny Cum lately to me. But anyway.
Luis Fernando, he does some decent work, and I like it. I like going to him, and rather than like the Hollywood Reporter or Deadline, which people often go to. I understand why, but I like to hand to Luis. He just gets right to the point.
Yeah, okay.
Gets it out there, so.
I'll buy that. But all these estimates of what it costs to make are ridiculous, of course, because it costs a lot more.
Yeah, I think so. These are reported budgets, folks. These things slide up, as we've seen multiple times through Disney's history, especially as the UK numbers come back and stuff. And like you always say, Lou, even those numbers are poor estimations simply because
they're below the line only and local below the line. So,
Yep. Indeed. That's very, very important.
I'm saying it's not insubstantial to the production in the sense that they get the discount of the subsidy. It just doesn't mean anything massive as to the total cost of making the picture. So,
Eric Stratton coming in here with the 777. Thank you so much. Since Disney now has a Walt Disney Scare Zone a la Five Nights at Freddy, should Universal have a scare zone with an animatronic Lou? It's pretty good.
I doubt it.
It's not bad. No Lou.
But you know what? If they were so cavalier and foolish as to do that, it would be more believable because Lou to the general public is like Lincoln. Nobody ever saw him in person or heard him talk, really. So there isn't the comparison factor that Walt is suffering from.
That's true. Maybe you could have somebody like so for Walt Disney, you basically have to embody Walt. But like,
speaking of embodying him, it reminds me of it reminded me of a very famous old joke, and I actually asked you and the powers that be, was it too edgy to tell here? And they said, nah, go for it. So here we go. Ready, everyone? A very famous, successful businessman passes away, and the funeral is going to be massive. And they've got the biggest place in town rented for the funeral, and they're about to unveil and begin when they ask the widow, would she like to check out the corpse before the viewing, because it's an open casket extravaganza. And they take her back and they open the coffin, and she says, my God, she's a brown suit? A brown suit? Where did you get? He never in his life would he have worn a brown. They said, don't worry, we'll fix it. She says, what do you mean you'll fix it? I got 2,500 people out there any minute. Don't worry, we'll fix it. She goes to her seat. A few minutes go past. The curtains open, and he's in a lovely dark blue suit. And the festivities go on, and everything is happy. And afterwards, she asked the mortician, my God, how in such a short period of time did you change his suit? And the guy shrugs his shoulders and says, suit schmoot, we changed heads. And that's kind of the solution that won't work for this stupid thing, because even his shoulders are wrong.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Because I hear Eddie Soto and other people talk about how the face isn't 100% correct, and that is very, very true. And if you're honest, I think you can honestly admit that it's just not quite Walt there. But even the body, even the kind of the mannerisms, how his shoulders are separated from his head, it's just
he looks withered. He looks non-vital.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. But
yeah.
I'd be up for seeing an animatronic Lou Osman, but I don't think Comcast nor Universal is going to go in that direction. Nor maybe should they. But thank you so much, Eric Stratton.
Well, I will guarantee that Lou never talked about bumblebees. So
yes. Mark Daly with the $10.
For those who don't know, Lou's most famous line, which was,
please
stay out of the spotlight, it'll fade your suit.
Yeah.
Something that Walt did not practice to success, and that Iger has proven enormously.
Yes.
So there you go.
Absolutely. Mark Daly with the $10. Maybe Colbert can get a job at PBS, at least NPR. Oops, guess not. It's either learn to code or stand on the corner with a cardboard sign saying, "We'll shill for food." Oh, man. Rough stuff right there.
Interesting to compare him and NPR. Where's that thing I just sent you? The quote that compares the two so well.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get that up on the screen right now, actually, and that'll be the introduction to our next segment. Let's see, right there. I'm gonna go put you down, Mark Daly, for just a second. Go ahead.
Charles C.W. Cook. At the root, the NPR story and the Colbert story are the same. Progressives took over a product, made it so that people didn't want to pay for it, whether via advertising, subscriptions, or donations, and now they're upset that it won't be perpetually bailed out by a third party. Kind of says it, doesn't it? And of course, we could add to that the USAID money and all, the old question of, if you're getting all your real money from the government, are you really an NGO, a non-government organization? So it's and then the other headline that I saw that It kind of sums it up too about why the
Mm-hmm.
outrage, which is stars no more. Colbert treated journos and Dems like celebrities. No wonder they're so upset. There are people who've said that politics is Hollywood for ugly people. Well, when worlds collide, this is the stuff that happens. So anyway.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they wanted to take this version of late night into a certain direction, which I think actually Matt Bellany talks about in his amazing piece. Unfortunately, it is behind a paywall, so we can't show it on screen. But he talks about how Colbert really transformed that show into basically Trump Resistance 1.0 and kept that up during his entire time from then on, from 2016 on. So, I think he takes the reins, from David Letterman in 2015, if I'm not mistaken?
Someplace around there, yeah.
Yeah,
but
so this...
the bottom line is that he, as a comedian, he was funnier spoofing the right than being the left.
Yes.
When he was doing his kind of Ted Knight impression, and for those who don't remember Ted Knight, that was the bombastic anchorman of the Mary Tyler Moore fame, Ted Baxter, But this thing, $40 million a year for years, it's been losing for years.
Yeah.
And now supposedly the Writers Guild, God, I'm a member, but still, they have some interesting management, especially on the East Coast. And this is if you've ever seen the letters WGAW and WGAE, that's West and East. And they're both the same. But anyway, they're calling for an investigation because, my goodness, how could this possibly be? And when that happens, this estimation that it was losing $40 million a year, I guarantee you that the numbers are all there to prove it. And if they push too hard, those will all get released in detail. And when that happens, they will have even more reason to say, well, who are these people who've been running CBS into the ground?
Exactly. And that, I think Skydance is going to be particularly interested in that question and the answer to it. I want to go ahead and just read a little bit. Apparently, the Times reported that late night shows took in $439 million combined in ad revenue in 2018. And from that time to today, they've dropped by 50%. So the economics just simply...
Especially when you consider the hyperinflation we've had during the last 4 years, the 4 years before this one.
Yeah, and think about it. There's an inverse relationship, right, between talent and what they're asking for, right, and the money that you're bringing in. It's kind of like this. And so
Shouldn't
it's
be,
like...
but there is. Yeah, the theory is you're backing talent because they'll put your stuff in front of more eyes and ears. But,
correct.
Whoops. I mean, indeed. I do not know of any products other than, well, I guess commemorative mugs or something that appeal only to one side of the political aisle. If they could get all those people who only are selling stuff to far left Democrats to advertise, I guess maybe they could eke it out. But where are those people?
Exactly.
And by the way, as those numbers go down in the overall population, they're all losers anyway. So.
And that's it, right? The key demo that we talk about is so very vitally important. I generated this summary here of what Bellany had written right here, and I just want to read just a portion of that. CBS announced that the late night show with Stephen Colbert will end after the 2026 season, a decision made by Paramount co-CEO George Cheeks, surprising Colbert and his team. The show, despite leading its 11:35 p.m. rivals with 2.47 million viewers and earning Emmy nominations, has been losing over $40 million annually due to declining ad revenue, which dropped 50% since 2018. The show's high production costs, over $100 million per season, and limited digital presence on platforms like YouTube and Paramount Plus, contributed to its cancellation. Cheeks did not consult with incoming Skydance executives, as the decision wasn't deemed, quote, material. While CBS insists the move was economic, not political, speculation persists due to Colbert's vocal criticism of Trump and Paramount's recent $60 million settlement in a Trump-related 60 Minutes lawsuit. Please.
We were waxing rhapsodic, and rightly so, about the American Adventure the other day.
Yes.
on the Big Show. And well, not that this is the Big Show. There's a line in that song, Two Brothers, that could be rewritten to say, if you're lefty and if you're kind, the ratings ball don't pay no mind, all on a beautiful morning. You know, I mean,
that's perfect. That's really
I don't know why that just came to mind, but I thought, boy, ain't that the truth?
It is really the truth, and it just doesn't work out. I will say the timing is very intriguing, and optics wise, it looks terrible, especially for people on a certain political persuasion.
I honestly think the timing has to do with Barry Weiss. I think she said, I'll do it, but first you have to clear some of the dead wood, so I'm not the lady who came in and fired everybody.
That's a good point. Apparently, I heard that. What is it? What was it? I had to examine this article a lot closer, but apparently the who's going to be shepherding CBS in the future is very, very interesting in that regard. Do you think, Lou, and we'll go ahead and go on to the next subject right after this, but do you think, a lot of speculation persists that, maybe Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and all these other late night hosts are next up on this list here. Do you think that's accurate?
Sure. They've ruined the entire genre, if you will. And as I said, when we talked about this the other day also, CBS has 250 some odd affiliate stations. And the affiliates, as opposed to the O&Os, the owned and operated, which the government limits it, I think now it's 15, they have a choice. And if they think they can make more local advertising revenue by running old movies than pulling this stuff down, that's what they'll do. And that's just CBS, never mind ABC and NBC.
Yeah.
It's hard out there if you're the CBS affiliate in Podunk, and Podunk isn't particularly left, and this is on your air for an hour and a half every night. It kills the lead-in, it kills the afterwards, it kills so much.
It's so true, and as we've offered here, both on this show and WWE Pro and other places, the ratings just aren't there to sustain this business model. And I think Bellany said I think he gave an interview to CBS's morning show talking about this whole thing, and he's like, look, listen, no, it's not going to be surprising if late night in totality, whether it's CBS or otherwise, isn't around in like 5 years. It's just gone because the people have shifted their viewing habits, especially in the late night hour, to other places.
Well, so but also the function that late night always provided, other than its own entertainment value, was promotion for movies and TV shows and books.
Right, exactly.
And oddball people that could be made fun of in a nice way. Well, those all have the internet now. They all have YouTube and Rumble and everybody else now to promote themselves. And when they drop trailers on there, they're seen by more people than they ever would have been seen by, even on Johnny Carson's show. So if the main function, which is to have fun and meet famous folks with interviews, disappears because A, there's competition that's free, and B, these guys don't invite anybody but politicians and journalists who think they're celebrities. What have they got to sell? Only their policies, which are being rejected, whether you agree with them or not. That's just the reality politically. Not just by the opposition, but by people who used to be in their pocket. Various labor, ethnic, whatever groups have been defecting from those policies. So
I had heard before, and this going back 50, 60 years, that media and journalism, right? So like Washington Post or New York Times, these kind of offshoots of these larger companies and corporations, were always kind of seen as a loss leader, but were done by their parent organizations because of the promotional value, right? Because of the advertising value. And if you're not getting the eyeballs, well, that even taking a loss doesn't necessarily make any financial sense at all if you can't get enough eyeballs on these promotions and advertisements.
Especially if you're CBS and your logo is an eyeball.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't have those, then you're out of luck.
And by the way, you know, they called it the Tiffany Network because Tiffany implied a level of quality and craftsmanship. You haven't got that either.
That's a fair point right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even the Buc-ee's network, let alone the Tiffany network anymore. So it's the world changes, and if you don't adapt and reinvent yourself, you fall by the wayside. Especially when you do it for ulterior motives and lose money for years. Years.
Yep.
You know, the only big question is, why didn't Sherry Redstone, who owns this outfit, notice long before this and do something about it? So
do you trust?
I don't know.
Do you trust your executives at those positions to make the right call?
Well, I certainly don't trust those ones that went apeshit on
it's true.
60 Minutes.
Yeah.
I know these people. I've worked with these people, these network news people, which of course, let us not forget, is the entire part of the industry from whence cometh a certain Mr. Big Bob with the shower. You know, Walt never came from that. Right. Eisner really didn't come from that. But I mean, well, I don't want to get too personal for the reasons I always mention, and which is why I ask that those questions I know everybody is sending in be a little generic as far as my own personal career is going. But I remember doing a show that was a worldwide show coming live from 17 cities, and politics and things being what they are. Some of these countries and cities they were in were not that stable. And we had a big meeting with most of the people involved with the show were former network news people about what do we do if some terrorist moron takes over the camera and wants to put their message on our air? And my obvious answer was, you cut it. Oh, I don't know if you can do that. It's news, and you have an obligation to tell the truth. And I'm going, truth? Some guy gets on there and advocates genocide, and you want to give him the airtime? So, you know, that's the way they think. That's the way they think, even without ideology. It's just their institutional bias towards a level of tolerance of bad stuff that will get you.
Right.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Da, 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 da. For those who don't know, that's yes, Hollywood Boulevard.
Hollywood Boulevard, indeed. Well, where do the stars take us this time? Apparently, to Taika Waititi. Yeah, to the El Cap, yes. But ultimately, no. In this case, the director from the Thor films, not the good ones, but the bad. Oh, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. But
I thought they were funny. I just, you know.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I thought Ragnarok was pretty funny.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of reset the character, which I think maybe needed to happen at that point. But Love and Thunder, not so much. But hey, guess what? Let's go ahead and give him Judge Dredd, movie and hot package hitting to Hollywood. This exclusive by The Hollywood Reporter. This by Boris Kitt here. Drew Pierce, whose screenwriting credits include Fall Guy, Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, is attached to write the script to this Taika Waititi headed Judge Dredd film. Those two names have studio heads and executives sitting up this week as one of the hottest packages of the year hits Hollywood marketplace. Waititi, the Thor, Ragnarok, and Jojo Rabbit filmmaker, is attached to direct a new feature film.
Jojo Rabbit, isn't
Dredd.
that the one where he played a buffoonish childhood version of a certain Teutonic leader of the late 20th century?
Yes.
His name shall remain nameless.
Yeah, name shall remain nameless. Yeah. I did see that when getting B-roll for this, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. The popular and violent British comic book character. Drew Pierce, the scribe known for his action movie-filled resume thanks to titles such as Fall Guy and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, is attached to write the script. Producers include Dredd rights holders Chris Kingsley, Jason Kingsley, and Ben Smith of Rebellion Developments, Roy Lee of Vertigo Entertainment, Jeremy Platt, Natalie Viscuso, and Pierce. Sources say Pierce and Waititi both grew up with the books. and are friends who have been trying to find a project to work together for years. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down right here to this. The logline is being kept under the visor, but the pitch is said to take inspiration more from the comic books than the previous screen iterations, leading into a world building and dark humor. It is also meant to be a fun sci-fi blockbuster that nonetheless speaks to the moment in culture. The desire to see the movie launch a Dredd universe that could be explored with additional movies and shows across various platforms. I think, Lou, before taking on this story, I think we have to talk about the previous iterations of the Judge Dredd franchise, at least in cinema, before getting here. You know, to really
I like the Stallone one. I really do.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start there. So 1995, Stallone stars in Judge Dredd. Now, what you're seeing on screen right now is actually the 2012 interpretation, but I can assure you that the 1995 version is actually embedded in here. So that version is very, very interesting because that, Lou, I mean, the sets, the models, the effects, that was a big, big picture in 1995.
Yeah, it sure was. And it was Stallone and Armand Assante and Max von Sydow and John Schneider. And it had, you have to remember, folks, for those who are not from the UK, which is a few of you, Judge Dredd was a big deal comic in England. Big, big, big deal comic in England. And when they made it for an American audience, some people were concerned that it wouldn't translate very well. I think it did. But it was a kind of a risky thing. So that's why they had to front load it with a lot of stars and a lot of money.
Yeah,
So
let's talk about some of those stars. You can see some of those on screen right now. Sylvester Stallone, which, by the way, I think they approached Arnold Schwarzenegger first. That didn't pan out. They then approached Stallone, who wasn't familiar with the material, from what I understand, before the actual filming took place. Obviously, got more in tune with the character in the development phase. But then you have Armand Assante as the main kind of baddie in that. Very, very interesting.
As Dredd's brother, as I remember in the plot. But anyway,
I think you're right about that. And then you have Diane Lane, which you'll know for playing Ma Kent in Man of Steel later on.
Right.
But she kind of plays the foil to Judge Dredd there just a little bit. Which I think is necessary for a character like this. And then Rob Schneider, which
Rob Schneider was hilarious in this picture. I mean, it was one of his best, I think. Yeah. And
a lot of physical comedy, I thought, from this version of the film right here. Now, I think some of the more controversial aspects of it, that from a comic book standpoint, you see Stallone's face a lot, and historically in the comics, you've never seen Judge Dredd, I don't think.
You're right.
And so I think a lot of people kind of took to that as like, okay,
that is the what some people call the Wheaties phenomenon, which was that when they put sports stars on the boxes of Wheaties, it tended to be basketball and baseball people, not football people, because there was this feeling that you couldn't market football stars as well, because their faces just weren't that well known because of the helmet they wore in their sport. So since Judge Dredd and all the judges are always wearing these big eagle helmets, if you don't recognize their chin, you don't recognize who's there. So
that's true. The budget for this was huge. I think it took a year to actually build the sets for this, which is enormous. But there was a lot of models, a lot of computer generation for the time right there. I think the budget ended up being around $85 to $90 million, which back in 1995, that's a tremendous budget. To give you some context, 2 years prior, Jurassic Park comes out, and that only has a $63 million budget. So this was quite the risk here. And distributed by, Buena Vista Pictures Distribution. Now, Lou, who's Buena Vista again?
That's a little street in Burbank that goes by a place called Disney Studios.
Ah, yes, it is right there. So that's your little tie back right there. Unfortunately, was not a smash hit, only making $113 million worldwide. So against a $90 million budget, that didn't quite work out. So, but Stallone remarks at the time that was the biggest film he had ever done. Remember, he had done about 30 pictures prior to that. So, I mean, it was a big piece right there. It just unfortunately didn't resonate with audiences. But you liked it.
Yeah, I think it's watchable today. If you suspend your disbelief and say, hey, we're going to go on this crazy magical ride and it's fun. The question becomes, since the real character as portrayed in the comic books is such a hard ass, is such a grim person.
Yeah.
Who do you identify with? Who do you like? Unless it's strictly, and in those times when we had increased crime and we had cities that were going to heck, it theoretically resonated that way in the sense that all I want is some guy in a mask to come shoot the bad guys.
Right.
But now, my God, if you do that, they call you an evil member of the Gestapo and blame you for all the world's ills. So I don't know.
It was kind of like I think that's appropriate to bring up. It has almost like a resonance, at least the comic book does, to like a Dirty Harry, but set in a kind of dystopian
Yes, that's a good comparison.
Universe. Yeah. And so I think that's why the comic book was really, really big and really, really popular. Well, they brought it back in 2012, this having no relation to the 1995 picture with Stallone. Sylvester Stallone. I apologize. And, this one took on a completely different tone, tenor, and a much lower budget. When this came out in 2012, I think the budget was reported to be anywhere between $30 to $45 million. So,
see, they had the benefit of so many malls closing, so you had a lot of already built sets.
That's true. Well, and they filmed across the UK, but primarily in South Africa, which I thought was very interesting. Took I think a 25% tax credit on there, and they talk about how the labor was much cheaper out there. But this time starring Carl Urban, Olivia Thirlby, which I know that name doesn't maybe sound necessarily familiar, but I think she really kind of steals the show in this picture right here. She would later be kind of a minor player in Oppenheimer, actually. It's one of the scientists there. Wood Harris and Lena Headey, which, if you don't know who she is, you'll recognize her work, obviously, from Game of Thrones, playing the, what is it, Ma Lannister, I believe, if I'm not mistaken there. She's primarily known for that work, but she actually does a great performance here. And Carl Urban, I guess he approached the producers to take on the role of Judge Dredd and got into some big physical shape for it. Famously, he does not take off his helmet at all in this picture, and if you do see him with the helmet off, it's only from behind shots and so forth to really keep that visage hidden right there. But I know Urban talked about how it was very challenging for him to act because you can only see the lower part of his face and all of that. But I think this was a pretty worthwhile effort. Well, go ahead, Lou.
I didn't see this one. I heard it was good, not great, but good. But when you mention the helmet issue, doesn't that take us right up to Mandalorian?
It does, doesn't it? I was thinking that one right there. So you have Pedro Pascal obviously donning a full helmet, and so that's like a whole nother way of acting right there, taking on this kind of Clint Eastwood meets Silent Samurai kind of persona right there. But you can see maybe a little bit of that work in Judge Dredd. Talked about how he, Carl Urban that is, had to put on like a kind of a raspy or harsh voice in order to portray this character. And he said that it was difficult to sustain, but loved his time with the character and was up for doing a sequel. And even though this film did not make any money at all at the box office, I think it was $41 million, it did really well post-market. So like for Blu-ray DVDs and all of that, it was famously shot in 3D. So if you wanted a 3D film by which to kind of use as like a something to test out your TV, right? You used this or Avatar. So it worked really well on that level. And Redbox sales and streaming era kind of stuff. This thing kind of took on its own life after the 2020 film was released. And I think that kind of brings us today with Taika Waititi taking on the role. Lou, I know you haven't seen the 2012 version. I saw it. It's very gritty. It's very grounded. It's a much smaller story than the sprawling story that you had in 1995, and it's kind of a day in a life story rather than a kind of plot that takes you from point A to point D. Right. So I like the picture. Do you think Taika though can pull off a Judge Dredd that works in the modern era?
When I look at how many projects he's been associated with that never happened, I say, come back and ask me when it's actually made. Because who knows? This guy has a history. I mean, a big history. If you go look at his bio of things that were announced with his name attached that either didn't finish or didn't happen at all. And why is that? I don't know. I don't have any idea. But he is more liked at a distance than where the rubber hits the road, it seems, by everybody. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. I'm glad the character's coming back because I think it's an interesting character that has room to play with. But
I agree. And there have been some pictures that have done really well of this variety in the modern era. I can't. Wasn't there a? I'm trying to recall right now. I can't think of it off the top of my head, unfortunately. But the kind of Dirty Harry vibe, right?
Okay. But Dirty Harry never wore a helmet or a mask.
That's true.
He was just out there.
Yeah.
So anyway, and I think if they'd asked Clint to do that, he would have laughed at him and walked away. Because anyway, I don't think, my point is, it's interesting we brought it up, we explored it, but I don't think there's anything else to say until it actually happens. If
that's the thing, we definitely have to hear more. I'm very intrigued. I'm very curious. I know a lot of people are thinking that this is the dreadfully bad, you see what I did there, pick for this particular franchise, but I don't know. Maybe this could work. And by the way, Taika Waititi has done work with Mandalorian actually before, directing a couple of episodes of that show. So we'll see. We'll find out. But I am very, very curious. All right.
We shall see.
Indeed.
And speaking of inspiring things with famous faces, let me call attention to our jukebox of the week.
Absolutely.
After some of the oddball stuff we've been doing, which has been good but different, I thought a classic, wonderful John Barry score would be a nice one for everybody to get into. And it's an interesting movie because, I guess you might say, because of who the star is, and that it wasn't, as far as I know, a big, huge hit. And that is The High Road to China with, of course, Tom Selleck. And this is a soundtrack suite of it. And if you want to get into some lush John Barry music, by God, click it, listen, enjoy.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I was actually listening to this while I was working on today's show here, and man, what a score! You always bring something really interesting, something I'm not quite initially familiar with, Lou, but I am so enriched for having listened to it.
I'm happy to do so. And if it makes you go see the movie, more the better, because it's not a bad movie. It just kind of got lost in the shuffle somehow. I don't know quite why, but anyway, The High Road to China. John Barry, give that man an orchestra and let him play, Anyway, that's our musical interlude for the week.
Absolutely. And if you want to go ahead and hear what we're all talking about, you can go ahead and click the link in the chat right now, or you can find it in the description if you're listening to the replay. Very, very cool. We got a little bit more box office news here.
Okay.
Culture Crave has this. The two highest grossing original films of the year, F1 with $434 million and Sinners with $366 million. It's actually quite impressive performances. Of course, F1 is really, really expensive. But Lou,
notice the word original, which is a way of not mentioning Lilo.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, Lilo is by far and away one of the biggest films of the year. But are we back to bringing original films to the big screen, Lou?
Maybe if they keep making money.
That's true.
And it reminds me always that I mentioned. I don't know if it was here or one of the other shows. I'm losing track. I'm old, folks. Forgive me. But we recently on Genre Guys did Ford versus Ferrari, which is still just a brilliant damn movie. And one of the commentaries that I read and quoted on that film, and it's true, I guess, with this one too, is that the secret to a great sports movie is not the sport, it is the personalities involved.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen this. I was just talking with my little brother who loved it. And he said it gave him a whole new appreciation of Brad Pitt as an actor. And so, it sounds great. It sounds really, really great.
Tell your brother.
Sinners, I've known enough in my real life. I don't have to see him in the movies. But
well, I unfortunately haven't seen Sinners. I'm actually looking forward to it when it actually comes out on digital and kind of getting the mindset of people who have seen it and rave about it. I think that'll be a lot of fun. But tell your brother, Lou, check him out in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because I thought...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah, Brad Pitt's awesome in that movie. Very, very cool. And one more here in terms of tracking. Fantastic Four now looking to earn 130 to 140 domestic box office. Now
Can I ask a silly technical question?
Please.
Has anybody ever explained why Pedro doesn't get the white collar and shoulders bit that everybody else gets? It always stands out to me, and I think, did he decide he doesn't look good in white or something? Or I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway.
But every single time I see this guy, even in promotional photos like this, where he's he's all over Vanessa Kirby right there, who, by the way, I think she's married. I don't know. It's very strange.
When did that ever stop a Hollywood icon?
It's a fair point. But 130 to 140, that contrasts with Superman, which actually premiered with 122 million or so. Lou, do you think it makes that much?
Oh, it could, if it takes over all those big screens and people run out and see it and like it. And three of their friends, because how many weeks has it got till the next one comes along to kick it out of the IMAXs? I don't know.
Well, no, it's 2 weeks. So
what is then it'll be good for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I'm just saying this whole new dynamic of the large screen theaters and their premium price.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about. Go ahead,
please. Yeah, okay, but Fantastic Four. By the way, what's the running time on Fantastic Four?
Let's go ahead and see here. I'm going to go ahead and answer your question about the slate here, and I want to know. Actually, it's a good question. How long it'll actually keep those PLFs? And let's see, Fantastic Four. I thought a running time was provided. Sorry, folks. Do apologize. Okay, so the initial result I have is 1 hour 55 minutes.
Okay. Well, that's reasonable for getting a lot of screenings in. I just noticed also on Johnny Storm's boots. So when there's the aftermath and the world has been decimated and the cops show up to try and put back the pieces of the city, who did this? Well, look at the footprints. It must have been the Fantastic Four. What is with that, with the four and the tread of the shoe? My God. Costume designers gone mad. And why do they always make the boots, the part that gets dirtiest, white? I don't know. I noticed this dumb stuff.
Hey, that's worth noticing. Okay, so July 20th
over there on the robots. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, being voiced by the guy who voiced what is it? General Grievous. Actually. So, Fantastic Four First Steps comes out officially July 25th, IMAX, and the next IMAX presentation is Weapons on August 8th.
Oh well, so they've got a little room.
Is that 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. All I'm saying is some of these things that run almost 3 hours. They can't have as many screenings in the day, no matter what price they're charging for them. So,
agreed.
In fact, they kept this under 2, which didn't we hear they cut a lot out of it that they'd shot because they...
Yes.
And that has to be a factor. That has to be a factor.
I would think so.
Yeah.
But there's a lot riding on this, and Fantastic Four in the box office hasn't worked extremely well. I mean, it's worked okay, but just hasn't pulled in the big numbers that I think studios have been expecting from this specific portion of the comic book franchise. So we'll see. I don't know. We're hearing like good reviews initially, but again, people who have seen it now, have been pre-selected. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, some of these raves. I saw an article of all places. I guess it was Variety. Advanced reactions are very strong, and it quoted all these people I'd never heard of that were just influencer morons, And it was like, what about a real critic? What about somebody who knows better? What if they raved? I'd be interested. If not, it's like these ads you get pushed on Facebook and Google and everywhere else about. Let me tell you my secret for losing weight. Who the hell are you? What do I care what your opinion is? I found the greatest thing against diabetes or whatever it happens. And it's like, yeah, well, good for you, Mr. No-name imitation endorser. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I really have no idea what this is going to do.
We'll see, folks. I
know Peepaw is a creep, but maybe nobody cares.
Maybe not. Well, he's in everything for a reason.
Look at those clips we had of those so-called influencers at Disneyland, and I thought all these people want to be with them. God, they look like they haven't washed lately, and I don't find them anything to idolize or admire. But I'm not 20. I haven't been for a long time, so.
I'm not a fan myself.
But we must say, as much as they're talking about them leading the Avengers and into all that, this does not have the same impact on the future of Marvel that Superman has on the future of DC. It just doesn't.
That's true. I would agree with that. I think Superman far more consequential for sure. But I will say,
and let's suggest one reason why.
Yeah.
Until this Superman, the DC universe was dead.
Yeah.
Marvel hadn't quite given up the ghost yet, even if they were dead to us. So we'll see. We'll see.
I will say, because you're putting Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards in the lead role to lead the Avengers and Avengers Doomsday and everything else, I think there is significance in that aspect, but I do agree with you. Superman much more consequential for its respective studio. There's one more story I want to go ahead and shout out here, and it's one that's particularly fascinating to me. Okay, so Odyssey has started selling tickets 1 year exactly from the release date. That being July 17th, 2026. So while we were celebrating Disneyland's birthday over here on the theme park side of things, Odyssey was getting a head start on its pre-sales for this kind of advanced screening in IMAX 70mm in various markets around the United States. You can kind of see right there where they started selling those tickets. Now, there's only like one time available, and I think it's like the first time you can actually see this picture on the day that it actually releases right there. So I think it's why they're limiting it to only one showing here. But of those showings, these sold out almost immediately, Lou. If we actually go to the listing here, you can see this is IMAX.com, advanced screenings right here. You can see how many are sold out on this list. Now, folks, that's not actually a reflection of actually, whether or not they're sold out. Now, if you go in there, they'll be sold out. But even for the ones that they say are available, those are even sold out. This is a year from release, Lou. I've never seen anything like this. This is absolutely wild.
Well, the obvious question to my devious financial mind is,
please,
we know that the IMAX theaters in particular get a cut for IMAX. In other words, they're beyond what the studio versus the theater gets. The theater divvies it up with the projector, if you will. A year.
A year.
Think
Yes.
about how much interest the aggregate sum of all that would make in a year if you just put it in something safe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're paying whatever you're paying, $20 or $25 or $17 or whatever it is. But by the time it gets to the screen, they're making 10, 20, 30% more on that money.
Yes, absolutely. And I apologize, folks. Maybe I didn't set this up properly.
No, it's an investment, of your money by other people who get paid for investing your money.
That's true.
And it's like I put in, and all I got was this lousy movie. No, I mean, I'm sure it won't be a lousy movie, but just because I trust him. But still, have they finished shooting the damn thing yet?
I don't think so. I don't think they've finished. There have been production photos that have come out for Falls Lake and stuff like that at Universal Studios' Backlot, which is very interesting. The Odyssey, for people who may not realize, is Christopher Nolan's next film, and so that's why there's big hype and so forth generated for it, and it stars a whole bunch of people on the cast, including, I think,
of course, if you talk about time and investment, the Odyssey is written by, in what year?
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. Yes.
I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a Greek legend today,
Yes. And let me go ahead and get you the cast right here. Yeah, Matt Damon as Odysseus, of course. Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Lupita Nyong'o, Robert Pattinson, Charlize Theron, and John Bernthal. Some people you have seen in previous work from Christopher Nolan. Others are new to the scene there, but a huge cast and being released, I believe, by Universal. So it's a big movie, but I've just never seen anything quite like this right here. This is
it occurs to me in the year that it'll take to get to the screen. If NBC cans Fallon, they could redo that ride as a screen ride of the Odyssey.
Oh yeah.
Escape from Troy instead of Escape from New York or whatever it's called. I mean, that's the amount of time they've got. So more power to them.
It's crazy. Some of these theaters.
It's like somebody in an office somewhere said, "Hey, I got an idea. What if we sold the tickets a year in advance?"
Yeah.
Who'd buy it? Well, I don't know, but if it's only one screening, we can't look too bad if it doesn't totally sell out. Give it a shot. What the hell?
Yeah.
And it worked. And frankly, look, in LA, you've got the Chinese and Universal, and then Irvine is sort of LA, and Ontario is sort of that's a big population. But if you go down and you say in the whole state of Florida, a museum IMAX. Keep scrolling down. Let's see what else is on there. Beaufort, Georgia, which is sort of Atlanta. Nashville at the Regal Opry Mills. Okay. Texas and Dallas, but you haven't got Houston. You haven't got Austin. In Canada, you've got, 2 in Toronto, but otherwise. And the Czech Republic. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, very interesting. The one listed in Arizona is actually, it's so crazy because the only real IMAX screen in my entire state is like literally I don't want to dox myself, but it's very close. So and I know that's a 500
if it's a success, there'll be more of them. You're going to get more IMAX screens. So
it's. I just thought this was crazy. I've never seen anything like this.
It is bizarre. It is bizarre. But like I say, it's like, what do they got to lose?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, Christopher Nolan is one of the biggest names in cinema today. And his pictures tend to be event pictures. So it's like, okay, let's make an event out of it. And like any other event, let's go ahead and start selling way early to really generate hype and buzz. So good move on Universal's part, I will say. Awesome
now, on
stuff.
the other hand, there was a story that showed that it was for Superman. They sold the super duper home video version, in the fancy box with the extra features and all that. On a put up your money and you'll get it when it comes out. And if in the meantime you went to see the movie and you didn't like it, you can get your money back and all kinds of other ifs, ands, to that, which didn't show confidence. It showed we're hedging our bets. So, this costs them nothing to do this. Except the lawyer time to work out the deal with IMAX on who keeps the money while it's sitting in the bank.
Right. It's really something. It's really something.
The question becomes, is there any other either franchise or director who could be successful doing the same thing? And I would suggest at this stage, unless and until confidence in Marvel or Pixar or DC or anybody is restored, no.
The only thing I can think of really is like Dolby Cinema, not IMAX, and maybe, possibly Avatar. I don't even think that would be a North America type thing. I think that would be more of an international play. But that's the only thing I can think of, just off the top of my head.
But part of the problem with that, as far as Avatar is concerned, I'm sorry, I like the guy, but I don't think it's a very exciting prospect of more of the same. I think it becomes a more of the same, and hey, we can go on the ride and we can watch the home. In other words, I don't think there's a sense of urgency of, man, I better buy it for that very, very first screening so that I can be the first kid on my block a year from now. I don't see it happening that way for that. Especially since it is the second of what will be 3, right? The next Avatar. I mean, he's making
maybe
2
4
movies.
I don't know,
3 or 4, whatever it is. It's not a one time. You're not going to do the Odyssey 2, the Wrath of Zeus.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
it's just, this is it. So anyway.
That's true. It's kind of a once in a lifetime thing, right? And famously shot entirely.
It will either be a huge hit or it will be a Trojan horse or something.
Yeah. That's true. I think it'll be pretty good with that amount of buzz. But again, that's
I'll go see anything he makes.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think he's an interesting filmmaker and one of the very, very few in our current age who is reliably interesting. It doesn't mean you always love everything he does, but there's always something in it worth watching.
Yes.
And how can we say that about anybody else, really? Certainly not tickety wacka ticky ticky ticky.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Lou, what do you got coming on the genre, guys?
Oh, my goodness. Well, we sort of got out of sync here a little bit. So your pressure on you was reduced by a week because we were supposed to do it last night and there were conflicting issues with some of the other guys. But as I've said before, our next pair, which will be done next week, are Digstown, which is just this fun rollick. Look, anytime you can have James Woods versus Bruce Dern, they're going to be sparks. You know what I'm saying? You throw in Lou Gossett and Oliver Platt and what's her name? Heather. I can't think of her name. But it's the Sting meets boxing movie, and it's just a lot of fun. And I was amazed in researching it to find out, because it all takes place in Georgia. It was shot in Montana, for God's sakes, and Sacramento. And so go figure. Anyway, there's that. And then the other movie we're about to do with it, because we're shooting 2 at a time, is Seconds. And I just got a note from Lauren last night saying, Seconds is disturbing. I said, I told you it was. But that from Lauren should tell you something about why you want to see this movie, or maybe why you don't, or maybe what time of day you want to watch it. Middle of the night, it would be a little rough. Better do it with the sun shining. And after that, we got a lot of plans and like that. So, and what's next? And to explain one more time how this thing works with the genre guys, which, by the way, I see we are up to, on our show here right now, 62. So this is the 63rd week in a row of doing this live show. So Genre Guys is more or less the same vintage. So there's got to be at least 40, 50 of those, if not more. If you are a member of the Pro Channel, and that means, a paid up member, but it may be somebody paid it for you, because it's lovely that we have generous people that will buy 10, 20, 50 memberships for people when you're watching the pro show, which, by the way, go check your settings to make sure you're set up to accept a free membership, because unless you are, you won't get it. But then a month later, you will get a little notice from the folks at YouTube saying, hey, you want to re-up? You know, we're just like drug pushers. We give it to you for free, and then we show up later to ask you to pay for it. Anyway, you get those for free if you're a member there. And a couple of months later, they show up here for everybody for totally free. So you have two chances. And we hope you watch both and comment on both. But
yes.
So what do we do here lately?
Well, we I think the last upload of the genre, guys. I think we started the Airplane series. It was quite a bit ago, but I believe we have a few that are coming out here. I'm still trying to.
You know, I ask you this every week. You should be prepared.
I should be, but Chinatown is still in production right now. So that's kind of what's coming. It's just
And again, folks, our whole purpose with that show is
to
show you movies not from very long ago that were certainly worth your time more than a lot of the movies that are in the theaters now, and to say that if you seek entertainment, it's all around you. You just have to, as we suggest, buy the damn physical media and save it, and avoid such things as re-edits and new editions and trigger warnings and all the other editorial crap that happens on the streaming services and elsewhere. Okay?
Yeah. Airport.
A movie which is infinitely better than you remember when you watch it again. And I got to tell you something. Those of you who think Dean Martin was just an amiable fake drunk on TV, he acts up a storm in this thing. Literally a storm, I guess you should say. But between Dean Martin and Burt Lancaster, and such a crying shame what they did to the character. But George Kennedy as Joe Petroni has that great line where they're trying to get this 707 out of this ditch to make room on the runway for a landing of an injured airplane. And he just gets in and puts it all in forward, and wham, it goes out. And the young kid who's his assistant says, "The manual says that's impossible, Mr. Petroni." And he looks at him, he says, "Kid, that's the great thing about the 707. It can do everything but read." It's got good stuff like that, you know?
I love it. I love it so much.
Anyway.
Right there. Well, you can check out the genre,
and of course,
guys.
great music. And it was really the first big so-called disaster movie that started the whole trend.
Yes, indeed.
So
you can check out the genre, guys, both at WW Pro, like Lou was saying right there, via a membership, or free with ads on this channel right here. Just go ahead and make sure you subscribe. And before you leave, go ahead and like the video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We're going to redirect you over to Barry Place 28.
Did we get some more supers, I think, before we
I don't
run away? I think we don't want to leave
I do apologize. I think you might be right, actually. Lou, I admire your ability to walk that line. I crossed that line years ago. That's by Mark Daly for $5. Thank you so much there. And I believe that just about concludes that. I know Barry Place 28 right now. He's just about to board Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland for an amazing experience. Go ahead and make sure you make your presence known over there. Tell him, we support him, and
we do.
We do. I know he hasn't been on T3PO Live in a couple weeks right there. It's only because of scheduling conflicts, folks. That's it. But I want to go ahead and make sure we take care of our contributors to this channel. So thank you so much for watching. We will see you all next week for Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. And before even that, T3PO Live on this channel at 3 p.m. on Tuesdays following the Pro Show.
And I'll be on the super secret probation epic Pro Show on Monday night, late night. Where I am told we are going to do an extensive dive into the whole Colbert phenomenon and the reaction to it. So that should be interesting.
You got a preview here, folks. Thank you so much, guys. Take care, and we will see you next time on Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks, guys.